Our last honoree, Ron Pfleghaar. Father Jessings, founder of the seminary Pontifica College Josephinum, lived by the motto, "If God is for us, who can be against us?" If God is for us, who can be against us? Ronald J. Pfleghaar simply believes God is for us. Ron attended the Josephinum for high school and college, so his faith has always been an integral part of his character and life. Ron attends Mass every Friday, and every year he goes on retreat for 5 days with a friend to the Monastery of Gethsemane, an order of Trappist monks. Ron is spiritual, and although he did not become a priest, he lives his ministry every day in every interaction. For 20 years, Ron was one of the Buskin bakery guys, not because he ate the donuts, but because every Monday morning at 7 a.m., rain, snow, or sun, Ron and his friend Jim went to Buskin's to pick up the day-old bread and the pastries and to deliver the food to food pantries, including the Caring Place in Kennedy Heights, where Ron also served as a board leader. This wasn't a simple toss the bags of the bread in a car job. Ron and Jim had to fill the bags with bread and then load them into their 2 vans if they could all fit it in. Before leaving Buskin, he and Jim had to go in and clean up the packing and the loading. But hundreds of people counted on that bread being at the Caring Center, and Ron and Jim never let them down. After this sweet ministry in the morning, Ron picked up food from the Free Store Food Bank on Monday afternoons to deliver food to the Bond Hill Food Pantry, part of Resurrection Church. On Tuesdays, Ron spends the day at Nativity School and Church as a St. Vincent de Paul representative. People call Nativity and leave messages about what they need. Ron is one of the volunteers who checks those messages to see what is needed and to see how he can help. He visits people who need assistance, he helps them get vouchers for clothing and furniture, and makes calls on their behalf to utility companies to prevent shutoffs. Ron understands that running a pantry is not a one-day event. For years, he also picked up food at Aldi and Kroger to deliver to the Bond Hill Food Pantry. He spent Wednesdays at the pantry to help distribute food to the people in that community. You won't be surprised to know what his email address is. It's Pantry Ron. And you wouldn't be surprised that he's known as the CEO of Room 1, referring to a room in a food pantry. Suffice it to say, Ron spends a lot of his time at food pantries, and this was after working in the insurance industry for 50 years. Andrew Carnegie's quote said, or Andrew Carnegie's quote is, "Wealth is not to feed our egos, but to feed the hungry and to help people help themselves." Wealth is not to feed our egos, but to feed the hungry and to help people help themselves. Ron says he's not a wealthy man, but he purchased a van for all his food pickups. When he was delivering the Buskin items, one pantry director told him that the van that they owned didn't work any longer, so he bought them a van too. The director refers to Ron as her angel. As one of 12 children, Ron also has a big family. He and his first wife had 4 daughters, and when he lost her to breast cancer, he joined a support group and reconnected with Kathy, whom he knew through Nativity Parish. When they married, he gained 3 stepchildren. Megan, who nominated him, describes her father as selfless, humble, and holy. Part of Ron's ministry is that he deflects praise. He likes to play a role in the background, but Ron's diligence, his commitment to serving the less fortunate, means that families in need have something to eat, a house to live in. One less child will not go hungry, and it means that a family will still have electricity. For the tremendous impact that Ron Pfleghaar makes in our community, Pro Seniors is proud to honor him as a senior who rocks.
I attended one of these functions once, and after an introduction like that, the speaker said, if my mother were here, she wouldn't know who we were talking about. That's about the way I feel now. I want to, first of all, congratulate the other nominees. I can't say that I have the background as Alvin or Kathleen or Marilyn, but I do say this, that what I do, I at least try to have people understand my name. I was introduced as Pfleghaar, and that's close to my name. It's actually Pfleghaar. I think I spent half my life spelling that name and having people try and spell it. When I was in the Army, of course, we had these roll calls all the time. We have different sergeants all the time talking. And I'd always have to find out who was the person in front of me so I could say, here. Be like Peterson, so I knew my name was coming up next. Some of those names were Pfleghaar, Pfleghaar, and that's my all-time favorite, really. I have two friends, one in Nashville and one in South Bend, who have been calling me Pfleghaar for about 50 years now. But let me get back to what I'm supposed to be talking about. And it says here, stand up when you're talking. Stand up straight. The quote I live by really is the one I'm sure many of you will recognize. For when I was hungry, you gave me food. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. A stranger and welcomed me. Naked and you clothed me. Ill and you cared for me. In prison and visited me. And when Jesus said that, they said, well, who did that, Lord? When you did it for the least of my brethren, you did it for me. And that's what I try to do it for the least of my brethren. This is a message so familiar to many of us, has been a guiding principle for me and countless volunteers across this city. When my daughter Megan called to share the news that she had nominated me for this honor, I struggled with accepting it. And if I knew who the three people were in front of me, I would not have accepted it. It was only after much soul searching that I came to realize that I'm not here today accepting this honor for myself, but rather I am a representative of all those seniors who make choices to spend the golden years trying to make a difference in someone's life. Seniors who rock. I have a list of friends here today, and a couple pages on what they all do. And I'm sure they'd be embarrassed if I said it, but Jim was already mentioned. There's George and Harry and Lacey and Harriet, Henry, Mary Ellen, and Paul. And if I said anything about any of them, they would be embarrassed. They're really some great people. They do a lot of work, and I try to emulate them as opposed to them emulating me. I got a few pages here. These volunteers quietly and unassuming share their gifts and talents and resources with the most vulnerable ones in our community. You get the picture. I can only stand here today not because I am what I am or what I have done or what I hope I will do, but it's because I'm just a representative of these people. I'm just an ordinary guy. I plan on staying an ordinary guy, and I won't change. I have the Pro Seniors mission, but that's been gone over many times today. You know, you have heard it before. If you volunteer and help others, you really get more back than what you give. Art Magazine really had an article recently in the June-July issue. It says, if you want to live to be 100, volunteer. I'm not quite sure I want to live to be 100. if I keep getting the arthritis bills and stuff. But I realize, too, that this is a two-sided situation. Some days I may have to accept what volunteers do, and I don't want to be pushed through an airport in a wheelchair. And please don't take away my keys to my car. Finally, on behalf of all those seniors who contribute in one way or another to making this life just a little bit easier for others, I want to thank you. And I want to thank all my friends who came today. Many of them came from many countries around the world. You'll recognize some of these countries: Milford, Terrace Park, Bond Hill, Roselawn, Gulf Manor, Pleasant Ridge, Mount Washington, and Anderson Township. And my friends from Kentucky, they get the long distance award. And I wanted to tell them that they'll get in time before we put the drawbridge up over the river. And I want to tell just one last story. I'm sure none of you had this happen yesterday. We get a call at 4:30 at our house, and it's, "Where is everybody? I'm out here at the golf course and there's nobody here." I mean, so this guy was really excited to come. He must have thought I was going to get the Nobel Prize. But anyways, that's all I have to say. Thanks very much.